How's it going, friends? I'm James, your host, and today I'm going to be reviewing the new Heize album, She's Fine. Korean singer, songwriter, and rapper Heize has just released her debut album after finding success with her past few mini-albums. On this project, she finds herself in a more contemplative, introspective, and also as a singer rather than a rapper like in her previous works. This album has very few dedicated rap sections compared to her prior mini-albums, making it stand out among her discography, I think. It also fully embraces the R&B side that she was experimenting with on her Wish and Wind EP that she released last year as well. At first, I can't lie, I was a bit disappointed because I was expecting something way more hip-hop focused. But honestly, this one really grew on me over time. Her old jazz rap sound is actually still here, it's just stripped back a bit and it's used more as an accent on the R&B instrumentation rather than being the main focus of the project. Now, I don't actually have lyric translations for most of the songs on this record. Despite her being a popular artist, I can't really find any, but this album is mainly themed around Heize's mental health, talking about different types of relationships she has with different people, and also dealing with her emotions and just living in the world. You can kind of get that from the few tracks that I do have, and they tend to be fairly common themes in Heize's works. The album starts with She's Fine, which is a very down-tempo dance song with very spacey synths and some twinkling piano here and there. The chorus especially has these soothing self-harmonies that really mesh with the synth well. There's also these subtle hints of bubbly jazz that kind of create this contemplative atmosphere, and lyrically she's as good as ever, going in depth on how she's not really dating anymore. She's trying to focus on herself and find new things and exciting new things to learn about and discover outside of love. I really do like the lyrical aspect she's tackling on this track. So It Ends is a bit of a piano ballad mixed with some modern R&B elements. One thing that really stands out to me is her vocals on this track are really melancholy, and the deep, muffled beat with the piano and acoustic guitar, they combine to create this really sensitive and beautiful experience that Heize experimented with before, but I feel like really kind of comes to fruition on this track. Cole's feature on this track is short, but honestly he lives up to his name. Their dynamic has a very cold and sad feel to it, and it matches the lyrics expressing sadness and how these two lovers can't see each other anymore and how they're reminiscing on days when they used to be incredibly tight. It's a pretty sad song, honestly, and I really like how their dynamic enhances the lyrics. There are some instances of slightly upbeat tracks on this album, like No Reason, with a lively piano section and a more hip-hop focused beat. These more lively songs are kind of where the older jazz rap influences come out, and her flow, while simple, really works well for the mood that she's portraying here. Now, I will say that the first half of this album is a bit weaker than the second half. Songs like She's Fine, So It Ends, and No Reason are good, but the album loses its stride a bit, I think, with Dispatch and Hitch. These songs in particular are a bit basic in their more contemporary R&B instrumentation and the fairly basic synths and trap beats with the former, and the simple bass line and dance beat on the latter just don't do as much for me compared to the songs previously. However, in Hitch, there's this really cool like film shutter sound effect that's kind of thrown around here and there, and I do like that a lot actually. It's a fairly experimental little sample for a song that's not that experimental. Vocally, they are still strong tracks, and they're not long enough to be a slog, which is nice. They kind of just come and go. They're just a little less interesting compared to the rest of the album, unfortunately. The second half of the album is much better, with much more variety in the instrumentation. There's elements where they combine some guitar with some slick bass lines and strings like in Buddy, combined with great vocals and flow here as well. One thing I also really like about the second half is how the jazz and neo-soul elements come out in full force. There's some very intimate and soulful instrumentation on songs like Umbrella Calls for Rain, Tree Only Look at You, and Noxer. All of these songs have very guitar-driven and melancholy vibes that reflect on the contemplative nature of this album as a whole. The drum beats and the upright bass on Umbrella Calls for Rain specifically really give the sound an authentic and honest feel. I like how it sounds like she could just be in a club performing this song for you, like in a jazz club or something. E.T. and E.T.'s Letter kind of end the album on a more stripped back note, utilizing mostly the acoustic guitar and piano. It's an intimate moment on the album, but not as interesting as the songs that come before them, I feel. But they're still pretty good, and they end the album on a more somber note, but also not too melancholy or too sad. Overall, I think this was a pretty respectable stylistic shift, and not completely abandoning what made her so unique to begin with. Obviously, I don't have all the lyrics, so I can't speak on every song, but from the lyrics that I do have, I do like how personal they are, like usual, and while none of the features are immediately as recognizable as, say, Dean from Anne July, I do think they are still used well, and they fit the album's sound and more enhance Heize, and they don't really steal her spotlight, which is always a good thing. Overall, I don't really have too many complaints about this album other than a few generic bits of instrumentation in the first half, and some of the songs I feel could have been a little longer. The songs themselves are good, but on the songs that are really good, I feel like you could even extend it a little bit more. I mean, to be fair, maybe that's all the ideas she had, so it's better to just kind of cut it short, but, you know, I feel like when you have something good, you can kind of push it out a little bit more. But that's that. I am feeling a light 8 on Heize's She's Fine, and I thought this was pretty good. Definitely worthwhile, and definitely can be compared to her last albums, which are also really good. Of course, we have to talk about the album art on this show, and this one in particular, Heize likes to have two different covers. The ones that she packages her album with physically are often differ from the actual digital cover of the album. In terms of Heize's newest album, her debut album here, the packaged edition is very big. It's like this 2 double disc box set sort of thing, and the cover themselves are very simple. It's literally just her picture with a pink or a black background. I really like how modern that album cover feels, and the digital one is just her in front of a refrigerator drinking a soda, which is also pretty cool in its own right. It really references her more down-to-earth and intimate feel on this album and her albums previously, intermediate albums previously. And I think both have served different purposes throughout her career, and in this particular case, I don't think anyone is better than the other. They're both trying to capture very different aspects of this album, but I do think they both do it effectively. So that is my thoughts on Heize's She's Fine. What did you think about the album? Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you like it a lot? Did you feel like you were also in a jazz club when you listened? I don't know. That's dumb. But anyway, that was my review, and tell me what you think in the comments down below. And until the next one, farewell.